Hey everyone, Mo here, and before the video begins, I just want to let you guys know that my schedule is opened up for me to do coaching again. So if you're interested in private one-on-one coaching for me to help you, whether you're a newer player and you want to excel at the game very quickly and learn the fundamentals without developing any bad habits early, or if you're an experienced player who's already maybe platinum or diamond in your top 1%, but you need some help filling in the gap to get you to that 0.01%, to make you just some of the best, then hit me up on Discord and I can get you in some private one-on-one coaching lessons to help you polish up any skills you want to refine and help you learn all of the secrets to becoming a top player. That's it. I hope you enjoy the video. Hey everybody, Mo here, and in this video I'm bringing you another Deck Guides for Dummies video, and this video we're going to be taking a spotlight at the newest Ezreal deck, which is Targon Ezreal. So, a lot of people are really tired of Ezreal decks, and they're like, oh, new cards, new region, this means that no more Ezreal decks, or Ezreal decks are going to go on the DL because everyone's going to want to play the new cards. Well, joke's on you. Us Ezreal players found a way to still play Ezreal with the new cards. So, I know you guys are probably thinking is, what does Targon have to bring to Ezreal decks to make you not want to play, Ezreal Karma or Ezreal Noxus or any other Ezreal variant? And there's three main cards that really just make Ezreal Targon absolutely crazy. The first card is Hush. Everyone knew Hush was going to be crazy. Everyone knew Hush was going to be pretty good. The people that tried to downplay Hush, I don't know why they tried to downplay Hush. The fact that it's just 3 mana, silence a champion for a round is already good. The fact that you can cast it multiple times is really good. Hush is just absolutely crazy card, and that really brought a lot to Ezreal. It makes it easy to level up Ezreal. You can cast Hush 2 to 3 up to 4 times a turn if you want to. So that not only helps you level up Ezreal, but also if you have a leveled up Ezreal in play, that's an easy way. It's like, oh, I drew 1 card, and now I'm able to randomly do 8 burst damage with it because you can play it 4 times. So if you draw it, that's a guaranteed 8 burst damage if that's the only card you play and draw. The other 2 cards that Targon brought to Ezreal is Gems. So in Mass Mentor of the Stones, it supports your early game units, make them a little bit bigger. And then when he dies, he gives you 3 gems. Gems is basically like what the old mushroom variant of the Ezreal deck was, where you would play just a bunch of chump wumps, fill your hand up with mushrooms, play those, and then burst your opponent down. Except gems also give your units +1 power and helps your Vi. Because this deck isn't just Ezreal, it's Ezreal Vi. And you can gem a Vi, and that gives it 2 attack. So it levels up your Vi twice as fast, which is really good. On top of, again, the late game just burst potential with an Ezreal. Once you play your Ezreal, you just burst them out with gems. And then the last card that Targon really brings to this deck to make it playable and super powerful is the Infinite Mind Splitters, which this card's absolutely crazy. It's 8 mana for an 8/8 Fury Dragon, which is already pretty good. But then its ability is when it comes into play, you target 2 enemies. At the start of every single round, it stuns them. So, just to be clear, this gets around Spell Shield. So if your opponent plays a big Celestial unit with Spell Shield or plays an Aurelian Soul, you can still stun that unit. You can target it with the Mind Splitter, and it'll still stun it every single turn, which is absolutely crazy that it gets around Spell Shield, and it helps you level up your Ezreal, which is really good. It's basically just like an old Yone. Yone was 7 mana, stun 2 targets. This is 8 mana, stun 2 targets every single turn. So it's just absolutely crazy in that regards. So those are the cards that really make this deck good, make this deck playable, and make this deck better than the other variants. In my opinion, I trust this deck so much. I think this deck is so much better than the other variants that I chose to play this Ezreal Targon variant over Ezreal Karma or Ezreal Noxus and an upcoming $2,000 tournament qualifier. That's how much I trust this deck, that I'd play it in a $2,000 qualifier over any other Ezreal variant. So I think very highly of this deck. So the next thing we're going to do is go over the purpose of each card in the deck, kind of give, why they're in the deck and what you should be looking to do with them. So we'll just start from the cheapest to the most expensivest. So let's just start at the top. So Thermogenic Beam's in here for the same reasons in every Ezreal deck. I'm not going to go over it too hard. It's a removal spell, or you can use that 0 mana to either give an additional stack to your Ezreal to help level it up faster the last little bit, or
if you're completely out of mana and you have a leveled up Ezreal in play, you can use it at 0 mana to do 2 damage. Rummage, same reason. It's in every other Ezreal deck, just to draw you cards, either draw you into your Ezreal so you can win late game, or to draw you into answers and discard stuff that you don't need in the specific matchup. So Spacey's Catcher is the first Targon card that we have in the deck, and Spacey's Catcher is actually really, really strong. It's one of the best cards in Targon, by far. Like, ask most top players, they'll tell you Spacey's Catcher is absolutely insane. It's played in almost every single Celestial deck, I believe, almost every single Targon deck, just because it's that good. Finding out what to discard on turn 1 can be difficult sometimes, but for the most part, you kind of just have to base it off of what matchup you're playing. So, for instance, if you're playing against an aggressive deck, you can go ahead and discard your Mind Splitter, you can go and discard a Vi even. Just something that's not going to be very useful, or a Hush. But if you're playing against something like a control deck, maybe you can discard your Guiding Touch, or again, maybe you can discard something that's not going to be very useful to you if you have double Rummage in your hand. Most of the time, if I have 2 cards in my hand that don't really work well, you know, like double Rummage. Like, 1 Rummage is pretty good, but having to discard down to a 2nd Rummage is probably not that good. You can discard the 2nd Rummage. So once you play a little bit more and you know the matchup more, it makes it a lot easier to know what to discard as Spacey's Catcher. It's just based on the matchup that you're looking at. The next card, you're playing one of Guiding Touch here. Guiding Touch is a pretty strong card. It helps you a little bit in your aggro matchups. Granted, your worst matchup is aggro, so this helps you a little bit, and it draws you a card. This card's pretty strong. Also, late game, it's just nice fuel for Ezreal. You play its 2 mana, burst 2 damage, and it draws you into hopefully another spell, and it can just chain you into more spells. The next card is Mystic Shot for the same reason as an Ezreal deck, just to kill things. Late game, you can use it for face to kill your opponent. Pale Cascade is a new card from Targon. The reason Pale Cascade is in here is it has Nightfall draw 1, which is really, really good. But it's also just a burst speed, give your unit +1 health. Pale Cascade can be used to either level up your Vi a lot faster. You can use it on your Vi to give it +3 power for the turn. Or, again, if you have an Ezreal in play and your opponent's trying to kill it with a 3 damage spell, you can only go ahead and use Pale Cascade to keep it alive, and then just get in for a little bit more damage. On the bright side, or on the upside, also is, again, it has Nightfall draw 1. So, again, if you did play your Ezreal, and you have Nightfall now because of it, and you cast your Pale Cascade to keep Ezreal alive, then now you get to draw an additional card, which is really, really nice, especially late game when you're trying to combo off. Same reason as Guiding Touch. It helps you get your 2 mana burst damage in, and then it chains you into more and more cards. Ezreal, I'm not going to explain to you why Ezreal's in the deck. If you don't know why Ezreal's in this deck, you should probably go play, like Empire Aggro. Get excited for the same reason that all the other PNZ removal spells are in this deck. You just want to kill things with it. Hush, I kind of went over this earlier. Hush is not balanced in any way, shape, or form. Like I said, at the floor, it's 3 mana Silence a Champion, which is already really good. I mean, think about the fact that there's a 2 mana Silence a Follower in Demacia. This is for 1 more mana, you can silence a champion. Not only 2 more mana, or 1 more mana can you silence a champion, but you have the potential to replay this over and over again. You can also just use Hush once and then discard it to something like Get Excited, or discard it to your Spacey Catcher or your Rummage. So that also makes it really, really good, because the preceding Hushes have Fleeting. So you can always use those to discard them down. Mentor Stones is really, really nice. The buff is actually permanent from the support buff. So if you played something like a Spacey Catcher early, and then you're going to play Mentor of Stones, you now have a permanent 3/3 Spacey Catcher, which is really nice. It helps you block things with Fearsome, and it just helps you block smaller creatures. As well as, if you want to get aggressive with it, you could play it Ezreal, buff it with Mentor of Stones, and then now your Ezreal is a 3/5 Ezreal, which is pretty hard to deal with early on. Most of the time, though, you're just going to be using Mentor of Stones to either buff up your Solari Priestess once, or buff up your Vi. Vi buffed by Mentor of Stones. Vi's already hard to kill. Vi buffed by Mentor of Stones, almost impossible to kill for most decks right now. So that's probably what you're going to be using it for the most. Solari Priestess is 3 mana unit here. Daybreak, invoke a Celestial card. The best Celestial card you can get from this is Meteor Strike. Meteor Strike kills 2 units most of the time, and then gives you 2 stacks on your Ezreal. So Celestial cards are super, super strong also. So being able to invoke them with things like Priestess here and things like Spacey Catcher, really, really good. The next card, Static Shock, same reason it's in every Ezreal deck. Targets 2 things, kills 2 things. So Tribeam, Improbulator, Combobulator, Mabobulator deals 1 damage to a unit, summons a random 1-cost unit. While this is in your hand, it increases both of those by 1 when you play a 3-cost card. If you notice, almost a quarter of your deck are 3-costing cards. Get Excited, 3-costing card. Hush, that you can cast multiple times, 3-costing card. Mentor of Stone, Solari Priestess, 3-costing cards. Even Thermogen is a potential 3-costing card. So it's not rare at all for you to get this thing up to easily 3 power. Most of the time I can get it higher than 3, and then you can help you kill off the 4 and 5 health units when it comes to later games. Like if someone plays a 5-mana 5/5, it would not be absolutely crazy for you to kill that with a 4-mana Tri-Beam Improbulator Bobulator machine. So this card's actually really, really strong. You do kind of RNG the unit. Sometimes the unit's trash. Sometimes the unit's insane. I was playing earlier today. I used Tri-Beam Improbulator on an aggro deck when it was deal 3 damage, summon a 3-cost unit, and I got a 5/5 lifelink ephemeral unit. It completely stopped that guy from attacking me, and I won the next turn. So sometimes you high roll, and then sometimes you low roll. I've also gotten Shady Character with this, which is awful, because I thought I was getting a nice 4-mana unit, and I ended up getting a 1/3. So it was very, very, very sad. But the unit, at the very minimum, is a blocker of some sort, and it's also a kill spell, so you can potentially deal with 2 units with this card. Just very, very high ceiling, pretty low floor, but really, really high ceiling. Next card is Vi. Vi's absolutely crazy. She's just really, really strong right now, and the meta is a bunch of mid-range decks right now, like it is. You just play Vi, leveled up a couple times. Nut scenario is you go turn 1 Spacey Sketcher. You get the 0-mana, I think it's like Moonlight or something like that. You get a 0-mana Celestial card that makes a card in your hand cost 1 less, and then you get a turn 4 Vi. So Nut Curve is Spacey Sketcher on 1. You get to play Mentor of Stones on 3. You get to play Vi on turn 4, buffed by Mentor of Stones, plus all of the buffs she got from you playing all of the cards previously. And you have this just turn 4 ginormous Vi, which is absolutely crazy. And then the last card here is the Infinite Mind Splitter. Again, this card's really, really strong at keeping your opponent's big units from attacking you if you're against any mid-range deck. I typically like to use these on my turn, so that way it stuns the units going into my opponent's turn, and it's already effective at saving me health. Because it'll stun 2 units that I chose. They can't open attack now, because hopefully you chose good units, so they can't open attack you because their best 2 units are stunned. So they have to develop, which then gives you priority to do a whole bunch of stuff, whether that's play your Ezreal to start winning, or whether that's to start casting spells to start winning. But on top of stunning 2 units, it's also a freaking 8/8 body with Fury, which is really, really, really good at blocking almost everything. And it only grows. So this card is just really, really strong, and it's on its own. So that's the entire deck. That's every card in the deck. Those are the reasons behind why each card's in the deck and what purpose they serve. Next, I'll talk about the general game plan of the deck. The general game plan of Ezreal Targon is the same as just about every Ezreal deck. It's kill things early, survive early to mid-game, and then play an Ezreal later down the line, usually turn 9, turn 10, and then win the game. Or with this version, with the Vi and the Mentor of Stones, you can also have a secondary win condition of just beat your opponent in the face with the Vi. I was talking with a friend the other day who helped me, build this deck and put Vi in the deck. He was actually the main reason I put Vi in the deck. He said he won 4 games in a row only with Vi. Did not combo Ezreal a single time. Won strictly with Vi in Diamond. And I was like, yep, that's, it seems like a pretty strong reason for me to try Vi out. I tried her out myself, and I fell in love with her. So that's the secondary win condition, is just beat your opponent in the face with Vi over and over and over again. And it's pretty effective. So you do this you do the first game plan by just using things like Thermogen, Mystic Shot, Get Excited, Hush, and the early mid game. Mid to late game, you have things like Tri-Beam Vi, Mind Splitter to save your health, and then eventually you just slam down an Ezreal, like I said, on turn 9 or turn 10. You get to use all your gems, or you get to use your Mystic Shots and your Get Exciteds and stuff like that to kill your opponent. So most of the time when I'm looking for in Celestial cards is just removal spells, because I just need something to help tame the board. I'm not normally picking the humongous units from Celestial that have Spell Shield and Elusive and all those crazy stuff. Because for the most part, I know that I can win the game if I live long enough. So I just pick the spells or the Challenger unit that helps me live long enough for me to just win the game with Ezreal, because I have that much trust in Ezreal. Potentially, if you're against another Ezreal deck or another control deck, yes, this is a very good way to go ahead and try and get one of those really, really big Celestial units to help you win the game. But for the most part, I just try and pick defensive kill spells with it. The decks you're strongest against are your mid-range decks. So these are your Trundle Asol, your Ramp Trundle Asol deck you're pretty good against. And then all the mid-range decks, whether that's Ashe Sejuani, Sejuani Gangplank, the Diana Nocturne mid-range version you're pretty okay against. The decks you're really, really bad against are all the aggro versions, which means the Diana Nocturne aggro variant, your Noxus Shadow IO aggro decks right now, your Jinx Draven discard decks out right now. So if you're playing in a meta that has a bunch of aggro decks, usually this tends to be lower ranks. If you're in the lower ranks where half of your games are against some aggro, Samorc variant, this is probably not the deck to be playing. But if you're in a higher elo usually, or if your meta in general is just mostly mid-range decks, like right now Platinum and Diamond seem to be mostly mid-range decks, or in tournament scenes, most people bring a fair amount of mid-range decks to the tournament scene. This is a really, really good tournament deck, and this is a really, really good deck to play in a meta where there's a bunch of mid-range units, because this deck just absolutely destroys mid-range decks left and right. The last thing is the Mulligan guide for this deck. If you want to join my Discord below, there is a link in the description below. I will have a full Mulligan guide for this deck, which will include a Mulligan for every S tier deck right now, and a couple extra A tier decks that I feel like people see more often. And that the way okay, I'm playing against exactly, let's say, Diana Nocturne mid-range. You can go to my Mulligan guide, Control F, look for Diana Nocturne, see where it says mid-range. It'll tell you exactly what to Mulligan and exactly how you want to play the matchup out. So it's a nice little cheat sheet to have. So make sure, again, join my Discord so you get that. Go and follow me on Twitch, because I stream on Twitch Monday through Friday. I post videos here on YouTube Monday through Friday. Join the Discord so you don't miss any notifications on anything. And I'll see you guys in the next video.